Hello and welcome to the Apples and Oranges podcast, a show that compares what the world believes to what the Bible teaches.
Hi, everybody.
Hello and welcome back. I am Pastor Jason. I am an ordained reverend by the Christian and Missionary Alliance, and my co-host,
I'm Ashley Duffner.
she's learning the Bible. And as we said, this is a podcast that its sole purpose is to compare what the world believes to what the Bible teaches us. And so today, our topic for conversation is what, Ashley?
Today we're going to be discussing marriage.
Marriage. Mm-hmm. Now, marriage is talked about in several different places of the Bible. At least the biblical perspective that we're going to provide will share the Bible verses that we use. Mm-hmm. So if you want to search out the answers for yourself, you can read the Bible verses and you can do your own little study.
Jason, how long have you been married?
I've been, it is 15 years.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Serena and I celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary last Wednesday.
Last week.
Yeah, May 25th. We were married May 25th, 2007. How about you?
Wow. I've been married for almost 2 years now.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, September 4th
So
will be 2 years.
newlyweds.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually crazy. It feels like we got married like yesterday. But it's already been almost 2 years.
Life goes fast when you're having fun.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, this is, I do want to make one thing clear. Apples and Oranges, we publish our podcast every Friday.
Yes, every Friday at 7 p.m. there's a new episode.
Yeah, it's at 7 p.m. On Fridays. Mm-hmm. And so that's important to point out. And I just want to also say this. Today's topic is definitely going to be one that is going to go against the grain of what the world would have to say as it relates to marriage.
Yes, marriage is a little controversial, I guess, today. Today's world.
Why do you think it's controversial?
Because there's actual laws about it now, about same-sex marriage, and I don't know, some people don't like that.
Yeah,
they seem to have a lot to say about it. I don't know.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot to say about it. And I'm glad you brought up the law because, one of the things that we want to recognize right up front is that marriage, there is the legal perspective of marriage.
Yes.
And then there's the spiritual. And there is what the Bible says about marriage.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to point out that if you are a student of the Bible and if you're not, marriage was the first institution that God created. Adam and Eve were created, and then God created the institution of marriage right after that. And so it is the longest lasting institution.
Very interesting.
And and one of the things that we need to recognize is that there is the forces of evil, Satan, mm-hmm. And Satan's primary objective is to take out the institutions that have been created by God, and marriage is one of those institutions. Mm-hmm. And so you can see it all around that the divorce rates are up, separation is up. Some would say divorce actually decreased within the past few years.
Yeah, but that's only because marriage has decreased as well.
Well, right, and not only has marriage decreased as well, but it's become an expensive business.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And so there are a lot of couples who are making the financial decision to stay married but separate.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper
than getting a divorce.
Right. And so there is one we want to hit this right out front. We believe, based off of what the Bible says, mm-hmm. that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Yes.
There are several Bible verses that point this out. Genesis 2:18 it says here, then the Lord God said, it's not good that man should be alone. I'll make him a helper fit for him. That one really doesn't answer that man is between or marriage is between a man and a woman. But Genesis 2:23 through 24 says, then the man said, this at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And so clear distinction there between the male and the
woman,
female,
yes.
and how they are to become one flesh. The other primary reason we believe marriage was created was for procreation, having children. And you just, when you have same-sex couples who spend time or are partners,
Yeah.
they can't have children, right?
This is true.
And it's interesting to see that man, as a species, will find ways around God's wonderful plan,
Yes.
right?
That is interesting.
And so some would say, oh, well, science would differ from your statement, Pastor Jason.
That's not true. Why
Well-
would one say that?
Well, because today, a woman and a woman who are married can go down and they can get pregnant.
Yeah, but that's only because of a man and a woman still.
Well, that's because a man produced the sperm, but they don't have to be married to have, you see what I'm saying? Like a woman could be married to a woman.
I guess so, yeah.
And they can divert from God's plan, and they can go down to a sperm bank, and they can say, please,
Give me your best swimmers.
yes, give me your best swimmers, and because we want to have a baby.
Yeah.
So the lesbian couple that is woman and woman diverts from God's plan
Yeah.
of sex being between a man and a woman, and they allow science to find them an answer.
Yes,
see what
that's
I'm
true.
saying?
I understand what you're saying, yes.
So
But if in the end it was only women and women, there would never be more people because they can't make babies.
yeah, that's exactly right.
So
In the end, you need
science can only go so far.
That's right. Science can only go so far, and it is the bounds of science that we tend to push, and we try to go further and further with science, so that we can go make advances, and some would believe that it's to go against God's form of creation.
Okay, that's another topic, Jason.
Right. It's a totally another topic. But again, we the topic today is marriage, and we want to be very clear that the Bible has outlined that marriage is to be between a man and a woman, and we don't want that to be the only talking point that we go over here on today's show.
Yeah, because I honestly wanted the show to be interesting for a man and a woman as well.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's right.
Because I think that it's fun when we discuss this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
especially because I'm married. So
Well, and it's interesting that your husband's not joining us in the conversation today. He didn't want to be put on the hot seat. Right?
Yeah, I know. Because what did I say last time? This is going to be like marriage counseling.
Yeah, you told him it was going to be marriage counseling, and he
he's
hasn't
like,
showed back up.
"Nah."
So what do you think that from what you understand, right? So this is a show that talks about world topics,
World views.
right?
Yes.
And we apply the Bible to those world views. So in your opinion, what do you think people believe marriage is for? What is the purpose of marriage? What do you think?
This is a good question. A lot of people. I think that a lot of people today think marriage is for. I don't even know what they think it's for. Honestly, it's gotten like so out of what it used to be. Honestly, like I think it's more about, I guess, money. I don't even know. Because
Okay.
there's a lot of women that like to do their own thing now, but they're still getting married. So I guess they're not relying on a man.
Right.
But I don't think it's out of pure love, because nowadays people get married and then divorce so quickly.
Yeah. Well, that it's definitely a real problem. It's interesting that we don't teach about marriage.
Yeah.
You know, two individuals can go down to the courthouse and they can stand before the justice of the peace and they can say, we want to get married.
Yeah.
And we don't do and this is I believe that
But
this is one of the areas that the church fails.
Yeah, but I also don't think that's a lot of cases nowadays. I think a lot of it is showing that you have a ring and getting married because it's a stepping stone in life. It's like people are like, oh, I have to buy a house and get married and stuff like that. It's just a milestone to people.
Yeah.
Like, even some people I know, they were like, oh, okay, we've been dating for so many years. Like, it's time to do the next step and get married, even though maybe that's not even what they really wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so they're not really doing it because of the union of marriage, just because of what the world tells them.
So they're doing it because of the pressures that society puts on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's honestly why it's failing a lot. But I mean, I'm not really sure.
Well, I would tend to agree with you. I think that society puts a pretty
It's very laid back and lax to get married.
yeah.
It's not as serious as it used to be, where like, well, because people didn't like were against divorce and stuff like that. And now it's like, oh, divorce number 4.
Right.
No
Yeah.
big deal.
Right. There. Well, the sanctity of marriage
Yeah.
is not upheld, and I think that one of the elements that is really missed is that while man and by the way, I just want to also read this one verse because I was brought back to it. Going back to marriage is between a man and a woman. Matthew 19 verse 4 through 6 says, "Haven't you read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." So there Matthew is really just confirming more of what Genesis was talking about. So you have the Old Testament scripture and the New Testament scripture that are really just confirming that marriage is between a man and a woman. They are no longer two but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. And so, but going back to that other point I was trying to make was that one of the aspects that I often hear, because I do a number of marriage counselings, is God is not in the relationship. So I think when we first started the podcast, I said that there's these two distinctions between marriage, and maybe if I didn't, I'm going to say them now. In America and many of the other countries, there is the law. So it is a contract between a man and a woman that is seen in the eyes of the court and in the eyes of the legal system. But far more important is a covenant relationship between a man, a woman, and God. They join together as one in covenant relationship with God the Father. It's not just the man and the woman. And so oftentimes when people get married, I think that they leave God out of it.
Yeah, I think so too. A lot of people I know aren't believers, I guess, or they are and they're not like maybe they believe but they don't practice believing, and they're married.
Yeah. Yeah, and God is the glue that binds.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about in the other podcasts, he gives us his written word, the Bible. And so marriage couples, when they're in their honeymoon season, they should be reading the Bible together, and they should be navigating life's course and marriage through the Bible. When they come up against difficult topics and difficult times in their life, they should join together in prayer with one another And so they should pray together. They should pray to God together, and they should read their Bible together. And these are the biblical. This is what sustains a marriage: is praying together, reading the Bible together, understanding that that there is a God who holds them in the palm of His hand and helps them get through the difficult waters. And I'm not saying that it's easy, because we quickly learn when we get married that my side of the bed is no longer really my side of the bed. Oftentimes, the way my wife sleeps, I'm off the bed because she kicks and she moves and she's all over the place.
Yeah, I think I'm like that too.
Right. And I know that what used to be her bathroom is no longer her bathroom. I use the bathroom and she would like me to clean it up in a certain way. And so these things are challenging.
That's like the whole house, more like the whole entire house, right?
Are you saying I'm
probably,
messy?
Yeah, she probably cleans the whole entire house, and then you leave like SpaghettiOs in a bowl in the sink. Like a lot of men do that.
Right. So I'm not going to say whether I do that or I don't do that. But what I am saying is that marriage tests each of the individuals in the union. And if they don't have a stronghold, if they don't have a prayer life, if they don't have a biblical foundation to hold them and to secure them, if they're not in union with God, then it all comes crumbling down like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
See, the Bible talks about building a foundation. Do we build our foundation on solid ground, or do we build our foundation on the sand for everything to just shift and move and for the house to come tumbling down?
Yeah, me and Jake and I mean.
Oh, there you go. Proper English for those English teachers listening.
What was that called that we did? We did a program, what'd you call it? I don't know.
Yeah, you did. So at Alive Again Alliance, I usually counsel marriage or individuals who are seeking marriage through Prepare and Enrich.
Prepare and Enrich, that's what we did. But we were already married.
Oh, you were married, yeah.
We got married like a few weeks before we started the counseling. But it's usually, isn't it for people that are going to get married?
It's for both. It's for people who are going to get married. It helps give you a perspective of who you are and who your partner is. And it highlights areas that you can focus on, on enhancing, and they can. But we also encourage you to take it year 1 after marriage, year 2, 3. Like, it's really a good...
we need to come back.
You need to come back and do it again?
Yeah.
It's really a good tool to use, not to dictate your marriage, but to really just help you see a different perspective of your marriage.
Yeah, there's actually stuff that we still do because we learned it in Prepare and Enrich that really helps us. I actually tried to encourage some of the people I know in my family to do it, but they didn't. But it really is a really good foundation for where to, like, even when you're arguing or something, you can always go back to the things that we learned in that class. Yeah,
and you should reevaluate a couple times throughout your marriage, because your marriage will face different phases. Right? So when you first get married, you're in the honeymoon phase. And you're loving life, you're loving up on each other, and you're loving, what you believe marriage to be.
Yeah.
Right? And some people, the honeymoon phase lasts a couple of years.
Really?
Some people, the honeymoon phase is very short, and by the time they get back from the honeymoon, it's over.
It's like, we're married.
We're married.
What do we do?
So then, again, depending on the course in which your marriage takes, then you can have the children phase, and you can start, trying to have children.
Well, there we go. It's like the milestones I said.
Yeah.
It's like people do this, then they get married, and then they're like, okay, we need children now.
Right.
And it's just kind of like a rules that you follow that the world gives you.
It's very interesting how you phrase that. You said, okay, we need children now.
Yeah.
Right. And so children are gifts from God. And so we should be ready to have children. And again, and not that you can plan out okay, we're going to have children our third year in marriage, but it shouldn't be something that we need. It should be something that we want and desire because we're ready to take care of children. Because
That's true.
when you enter into the phase of children, that is another pressure that will be put on the marriage. You're going to, you're not waking up at 3 a.m, changing the diapers as much as I am. And so when are you going to start doing your fair share?
Yeah.
You're not holding the baby as much as really you're not pulling your weight. Would you start pulling your weight around here? And then the male says, well, wait a minute, you're the mother. God equipped you to take care of the baby, right?
Yeah.
And
these are really true, yeah.
And I'll tell you, from my personal experience, Serena and I we had to sit down, we had to talk through these things.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, people that don't believe in God and don't have that mindset, some men don't think that. Like, oh, you're the mother, you have to do this and that.
Yeah.
So it's different for everybody, really.
Well, and when an interesting image to remember, and I often say this when I officiate a wedding, is that Eve was made from Adam's side.
Yeah.
And the reason I make that, I share that when I perform wedding ceremonies, because I go into reminding the male that Eve was made out of man's side to walk alongside of him, not to be trampled on by him, not to be lorded over by a male. That it's a partnership and it's a union. And the reason I do this is for that very point, because males have such egos, and they have expectations, and a male will say exactly what you just said. Well, you're the woman.
Yeah.
You're the mother of my child. You need to you need to feed the baby. You need to wake up and take care of the baby.
Yeah, I think a lot of the issues is that men and women don't have that conversation, like what they think a marriage should be, especially when it comes to having children too.
Right.
Like what they don't they don't talk about how they want their lives to be before having children or before getting married. Like what their expectations from one another are.
Right. And one of the things that married couples out there listening, I want to remind you, there is a Bible verse that says, the devil roams about like a lion waiting for the one whom he can devour. And so as married couples are, whatever phase in their marriage they're at, listen, there's the honeymoon phase, there's the child phase, there's the midlife crisis phase, there's the retirement phase, and then there's the end of life phase where married couples are maybe their partner has entered the last phase of their life and they're getting ready to go home to be with the Lord. There are all these different phases, and as you're involved in each of these phases, if you're not biblically grounded, if you don't have a prayer life, if you don't talk with one another, truly talk with one another, the enemy, the devil, who roams about like a lion waiting for the one whom he could devour, will go after your marriage, and will start to highlight things to you or to your spouse that are going to annoy you, and he does it in very different forms. He can bring friends over, and the friends talk to you and say, well, why do you tolerate this? Or why do you put up with your husband? Or why do you let your wife do this? Or why, and it's just bad talk. Yeah. So you have to remember that you're in union together and you're one. And so you have to communicate with each other as though you're one.
Yeah.
This is the deepest form of intimacy that the world has ever known.
Yeah.
And it was created and fashioned by God. And when we don't pray together, when we don't read the Bible together, when we don't talk these things out, then we allow the enemy, Satan, to take an inch and when he takes an inch, it's going to turn into a mile. And now and now we have some type of a perspective as to why the divorce rate is 50% of marriages today.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I can't even believe that.
Right.
Well, I can believe that because I witnessed a lot of that.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy to talk to one another and communicate, especially when emotions are high. The other thing that's really important to remember about marriage is that marriage is it's a compromise with one another.
Yeah.
It is. Let me hear what you want to do today. Why don't you hear what I want to do today? And where do we meet in the middle?
Yeah, it's...
There's another Bible verse that I want to share. It's in Ephesians. It's in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 through 27. For all of you married couples that are out there, I don't care what phase of your marriage you're in, or for all of you that may be listening and considering marriage, I highly encourage you to spend time in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 through 27. It says this: Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. And it's important, like, I know people may say, well, wait a minute, Pastor Jay, hold on. You just said the wife come out of Adam's side to be by his side, but you just said wives submit. Oh, the submissive
That word.
We hate the word submit.
Yeah, I hate that word.
and so it's not a submit to like as though you are lesser than the husband, right? Would you agree with that, Ashley?
I would agree with that.
Because your face is getting red.
No, I'm just warm.
Right.
I have a hot coffee.
It is God created woman to meet man's needs.
Yeah.
God created man to provide for woman's needs. Okay? So they both have a very specific role. And so it's not a submissive where it's like an authoritarian. Well, it is. The man is the head of the household in the biblical view, but it's not a form of submitting where the woman, the wife, is a servant or is a lesser part of the union.
Yeah. Well, it says right here in Colossians 3:18. Wives, submit to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them.
Yeah. It's really wives submitting in a humble fashion.
Yes.
And husbands remembering that wives are a delicate, powerful flower, and they hold the wives in the palm of their hands, like you would hold rosebuds. You would be delicate, but you would recognize their beauty, their splendor, and you would do everything you can to protect and make sure that nothing happens to
That's
those
a good
rosebuds.
analogy. I like that.
And so well, don't. That's a good analogy, okay, but use God's analogy of what he says that husbands are supposed to treat their wives like Christ treated the church. What did Christ do for the church?
What?
What did Christ do for the church? Are you stuck on the rosebud analogy?
I'm supposed to have the answer to this?
Christ died for the church.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that one seemed pretty simple.
Right, that was a softball. That was a softball. Should have been hit out of the park.
Listen, I'm not good on the spot like that.
No, that's you're getting better. You're getting much better. Christ died for the church.
Yes, he did.
Christ went to the cross while we were still sinners for the church. Christ makes the church whole again, and holy and without blemish. And so the husbands need to treat their wives like Christ treated the church.
See, you've told me this stuff before, but now I'm just getting it with what you just said.
Right, now you're connecting the dots.
Yes.
And it's not easy for husbands,
Yeah.
because husbands, like Colossians said, have a tendency to be harsh.
Yeah.
Husbands have a tendency to rule with an iron fist. Husbands have a tendency to fly off of the handle, and they lose very quickly the perspective of how they're supposed to treat their wives.
Yeah. And I think that honestly is a big reason for a lot of the problems that there are in marriage today. It's because women, men say they're supposed to live up to this standard to do all these things that a woman should do, like the household chores and this and that the man is supposed to take care of the house. And so men say that about women, but they don't actually treat women like that all the time. So then women are like, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm doing one thing and you're treating me a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
now men are all upset about how these women want power and to do things like men would do, when in reality it's the man's fault for not treating them the way Jesus treated the church.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like it's all the man's fault, because women are also supposed to be humble and know that they're powerful without being mean to men, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think the flip side of the coin is that
I think it's wrong on both sides.
Serena does a very I have to say that there's a song when we were married we danced to. I believe the name of it was When God Made You. And it says something like, when God made you, he must have been thinking about me, because he knew every thought, something like that, and he knew every dream that I would dream, and basically you make those dreams come true.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I ruined the lyrics. Go look it up. It's when God made you, he must have been thinking about me. But why I was saying that is because Serena knows my every fault. Serena knows my every tendency. And she knows how to patiently reveal them to me. She like you said, fault.
Yes.
Serena recognizes my faults, and she knows how to navigate the conversation to highlight them for me in a way that don't degrade me as a man, that I don't lose my respect, my authority, but it makes me say, it silences me, and I go to my room and I think about what she said.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to say, like, I don't mean to say like it's all the man's fault,
right?
Because there's definitely not all women are great like Serena,
right?
And know how to talk to a man in a way that doesn't degrade him or make him feel less than what he should.
Is.
Yeah.
Right. Now, a lot of poets, a lot of songwriters have likened marriage to a dance. And you have to know when to lead and when to follow. You have to know when to be delicate and when to not be so delicate. You have to know the right steps. Marriage is really it's really a love dance between a man and a woman, and you have to know your partner. Now, a lot of times, and I loved, I'm drawing a blank on it's Pastor Anthony is his name. Pastor Anthony was the pastor who married Serena and I. And he did something very profound when Serena and I were first, we were going to marriage counseling before we were married. He looked us both in the eyes and he says, it's coming close to the day in which the two of you will join in union with God. And he said, so I want you to do something. I want you to go home and I want you to think of all of the baggage in your closet. And if you haven't shared all of the baggage in your closet with your fiance, before you join in marriage, share all of your baggage. Because when you go into marriage and you join in union, remember I started out by saying we have an enemy. The enemy is real. The enemy is Satan, and he wants to tear down God's institutions.
Yep.
You enter a marriage with baggage that your partner doesn't know about, and guess what? What do you think is going to start happening?
It's going to be revealed to your partner.
It's either going to be revealed or Satan is going to highlight it and make you feel shamed. And you're going to feel in such a way that, oh, well, I can't share this baggage with my partner anymore. I can't let my partner really know that I've had homosexuality thoughts, or I've had a homosexuality experience before I got married, or I've cheated in past relationships, or I have these desires of commitment, or and it doesn't even have to be a one of sexual. I could be a very poor manager of money, and so I don't want my.
You said that on purpose.
I don't want my fiance to realize that I'm bad with money.
He already knows, so.
Right. So it's like you have to be fully transparent to your partner, and I think that that's lacking today.
Yeah.
I think that we don't spend time saying, you know what, these are my faults, and we don't allow our partner to love us, faults and all. And I think that
That's a good one.
is a major stumbling block in marriages,
Yeah.
because the next thing you know, the wife is setting expectations or the male is setting expectations. Here's a perfect example. One of the major problems with males today is their addiction to pornography. Pornography is everywhere. You can get it on the internet by simply a click of the button.
Yeah.
And so males gravitate to pornography and they see the marriage bed, they see sex in a certain way. And it is not the way God intended it. And so when you have a male who is addicted to pornography enter the marriage relationship, he expects his wife to perform in such a way. And when his wife doesn't perform in that way, he doesn't understand, because he sees it one way and he's addicted to that way. And then he sets an expectation for his wife. And he said, and if he doesn't get what he expects from his wife, guess what do you think happens?
He cheats on her.
He goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
He goes out. Yeah. He goes down to the local, where you pay. They dance. What do they call them?
A strip club?
Right, strip clubs. He goes down to the local strip club and he pays for that expectation that his wife had. Now, let's flip the coin. You have a woman who has high expectations for material things. Right? And so maybe you're not upfront and honest with your husband when you enter the marriage bed, letting him know that I have a high standard for material things.
Yeah.
And your husband has a certain career, and the career doesn't make enough money to maintain your material desires. Well, what do you think the woman's going to do?
Find a man with more money.
She's going to find, what do they call the old man that
A sugar daddy.
She's going to find the sugar daddy. Or she's going to go get, I had known somebody once who they went and they got a job at Target.
Yeah.
And the husband was furious because I guess I don't know if this still.
This sounds like me.
I don't know if this still happens or not. But when you worked at Target, you used to be able to get items.
Yeah.
And they used to deduct it from your pay.
Oh my goodness.
So she comes home, and he's thinking, oh, she's gonna have a check. Well, no, she didn't have a check. She had a bill.
That's terrible.
Right, because she wanted more items than her paycheck could afford. So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but I think that one of the major issues with marriage today is that we're not honest, we're not brutally honest, we're not 100% transparent with each other.
I think that's true.
Right,
But I think there's a lot of other issues, but I do think that is one that it comes between a lot of people.
right, yeah, because if you were those things that you're not sharing in your marriage may seem small and minuscule now, but they grow.
Yeah.
They grow, and so so I think that this is one of the major challenges for marriages. I strongly urge anybody out there. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't matter where you are in your decision to marry, whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're engaged, or whether you're married, or listen, whether you've been married for 60 some years. I just had dear friends of mine. The husband passed away, and then the wife passed away a year and a half later. They were married 69 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a very long time, and when the husband passed away, the wife just didn't know how to live life literally without him.
I could see that a lot actually.
Yeah, and so she passed away, and I encourage those types of marriages to share their knowledge, to share how they made it so many years with younger couples. Is critical, and that's why I think again that the church does not do a good enough job of this. We don't talk about sex in church. Well, let me tell you, there's a whole Bible. There's a whole book in the Bible. It's called the Song of Songs that talks about this, and it talks about sex. There are some forms of Christian denominations that feel that the book should be taken out of the Bible because it talks about sex in such a way that they find it offensive.
Wow, I didn't even know that. See,
Yeah.
I'm learning new things every day.
It's a beautiful book, and when you read it in the context of true marriage, of how God created marriage, it's a beautiful poetic book.
Wow.
And we don't talk about sex well, let me rephrase that. We talk about same sex. We talk about how we don't agree with same-sex marriages. We talk about how we don't agree with the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
We talk about how we don't agree with homosexualities. Let me tell you this. I love everybody who is in the LGBTQ community. I love those who are same-sex partners. I love them dearly. And I don't agree with their lifestyle. I don't agree with the lifestyle they're living. The Bible says that we need to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and we need to love our neighbors as ourselves. Well, that couple that is living in a same-sex relationship, they're my neighbors.
Yeah, I have quite a few friends and family members that have same-sex partners. So
Yeah.
I mean, I still love them, no matter what. But
I love them dearly. I have a number of friends who are gay, who are lesbian, and I love them to death, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. And like we talked about, it seems to find its way into each of our podcasts. There's no sin greater than another sin. So
I love that.
if I am addicted to alcohol, I am just as sinful as the person who is living in a same-sex relationship.
Yep. If I tell a lie, I'm just as bad.
Right. And the problem is the church doesn't treat them that way. The church treats them as outcasts.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like it either. It's deplorable to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to love them. We need to wrap our arms around them, and we need to let them know we love them.
Yeah.
And we care for them dearly. So, again, marriage. It's a big topic. There's a lot going on in marriage. I would encourage. I think I was saying this, and maybe I got off on a rabbit trail. I would encourage anybody who, again, if you're dating, learn about marriage. If you're not dating and you're about to date, learn about marriage.
I think that's so important.
Right.
Like that class that we did, I had no idea about it until it was introduced to us by someone in the church. I don't even know if you told us about it or if someone else did. I know that you were the counselor for it. But did you encourage us to go?
I think I invited you guys to come.
Oh, okay. Well,
but
either way,
it could have been somebody else.
It was really great. So, and I tried to tell a lot of people about it. I was like, "Hey, look, you want my notes?"
Yeah,
because they wouldn't go to the church. So, like, here you go.
You need to take it again.
Yeah. Well, I do. I think it was really good. So I would like to take it again just to make sure we're staying healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. It's to strengthen your relationship.
Yeah. I think it really does help, and I think it's a good foundation to grow your marriage.
Right, because you can go and you can learn about marriage from many different places, but I would say learn it from the Bible. Learn it from the Creator himself.
Yeah.
God created marriage. God outlined marriage in the Bible. The expectations for a man and a woman. It is your instruction manual. If you want more information about marriage counseling, you can send us an email, aliveagain.ne@gmail.com. If you're watching us today on YouTube, you can put in a comment in the section below, and we'll get you some real biblical resources on marriage. What does it take, and what are the responsibilities we have to one another in marriage. I highly recommend it. I wish that our public school systems would teach on it, but they seem to be focused on teaching other things other than biblical marriage, and what goes into biblical marriage, because it's not easy, and the enemy is definitely up against those who are attempting to live a biblical marriage and a biblical lifestyle. So,
and those who aren't.
Right.
They just don't know it.
They just don't know about it. And again, there's a lot of resources out there, but there aren't many good resources or biblical resources. So, I encourage you to follow up more about that. I think that just about does it for this episode of Apples and Oranges.
Yes.
And so, again, our podcast... Oh, wait a minute. I wanted to share this. When God Made You, the lyrics. Here it is.
Are you going to sing it for us again?
No, I'm not going to sing it for you.
I know you love to sing your little songs.
No, I'm not going to sing it. I wonder what God was thinking when he created you. I wonder if he knew everything I would need, because he made all my dreams come true. When God made you, he must have been thinking about me.
Aww.
And so that was the song that Serena and I danced to at our wedding. And it truly, when you find your soulmate,
that's a good song.
You've really found something special. And it's my prayer for everybody out there listening that if you haven't found your soulmate, that God would bring your soulmate to you. And my prayer for all of you out there that may be struggling in your marriage is that you would bind together in prayer. You would pick up your Bible and you would read it together and simply ask God to show you the answers. Or you would go down to your local church and you would ask one of the pastors to help your marriage out, because we need support. Marriages need support.
Definitely.
So that's Apples and Oranges podcast. Our new episode comes out every Friday at 7 p.m. I think maybe next time either we pick up on marriage again because it's such a big topic, or maybe we talk a little bit about finances because somebody next to me likes to spend money.
Or we can do finances and marriage together.
Or we can do a combined topic. But that is the Apples and Oranges podcast, a show that compares what the world believes to what the Bible teaches us. And we'll hope that you'll share our podcast with your friends and family.
And you'll listen next time, right? Every Friday at 7 p.m. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
That does it for us. Have a great week.
We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.